be better for the black shoes, Miss Riley. They need a good thick sole to put them back into shape." "I don't like the rubber ones much. They're so heavy," Anne confessed with a sigh. "But I suppose I do have some thinner rubber." He was about to show her an example when the door to the back room opened, and a man entered dressed in army trousers, with braces over a string vest, his arms and shoulders bare. "Bob, are the boots ready?" The words died on his lips, and a faint flush spread up his neck. He was clean-shaven, good-looking, with high cheekbones, dark curly hair, and blue eyes, with lashes so thick any girl would envy them. And Anne could smell the fresh, clean scent of his soap. "I do beg your pardon, miss. I didn't realise there was a lady here." "You should think before you walk about like that, Kirk," Bob reproved. Older, with some grey at his temples, there was a noticeable resemblance between Bob and the younger man. "I'm so sorry, Miss Riley. Kirk is my sister's boy, and he's staying with me for a couple of days." "Kirk Ross," the soldier said, and moved towards the counter, offering to shake hands. Anne noticed that his nails were broken but clean, his fingers long and shapely, but calloused, as if his hands had seen hard work. "I'm sorry for embarrassing you, Miss Riley." "That is perfectly all right," Anne replied, though her heart was pumping a little faster than normal, because he was rather a magnificent specimen. Obviously, he was fit and strong, with muscles any weightlifter would be proud of. "I've seen a man in a vest before, Mr. Ross." She averted her eyes, deliberately looking at the shopkeeper. "Very well. Leather on the grey and rubber on the black. They're on their last legs, and I should probably have bought new if I could find anything I liked." "Thank you, Miss Riley. I'll use the thinnest rubber I have," Bob Hall promised. "They'll be ready on Friday afternoon." "Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Hall." "Mr. Ross?" Anne went out into the cool, fresh air. It had startled her a little when Bob's nephew had walked in half-dressed, but she couldn't help noticing how well he looked. She didn't often see a man with a body like that, and she couldn't wait to tell Peggy about the small incident. She'd been going to call in and tell her friend that she'd moved into her room at Mavis Bassett's house, at the other end of Mulberry Lane. It had been Peggy's idea, and it meant that she wouldn't have far to go at night after helping out in the bar, as she was this evening. In fact, she now had plenty of time for a little gossip before she went home to change for the evening. Kirk Ross was going to cause a little stir in the lane with those eyes and muscles. She wondered if he would make the Pig and Whistle his local while he was staying with his uncle, and found herself hoping he might be in that evening. Anne was smiling to herself when she left Peggy half an hour later. They had had a laugh and a chat, and Anne had left believing life was at last taking a turn for the better. She had been feeling listless and bored for ages after her affair with a married man had come to an end, and then she'd been shifted about all over the country for her job. It was good to be settled in London again, and living near to friends. Peggy was always ready with the teapot and a piece of cake, even though she had her own troubles with her husband estranged and living somewhere in Scotland. Anne thought of her almost as a sister, and admired her. Peggy was in her early 40s and heavily pregnant, already a grandmother to her daughter Janet's child. Maggie. She seemed to make nothing of having another child, although her son and daughter were now adults. Maureen Hart, another of Anne's close friends, lived just round the corner in her grandmother's house now. She'd been married for just over a month, and seemed very happy with her nursing, and looking after her new husband's daughter, Shirley, because he was away serving in the army. And of course, she was pregnant herself, rather more than a month. She told Anne the truth, asking her to keep it private, because she and Gordon wanted people to think the baby was his when it came. Gordon was a decent man, and Anne had never seen Maureen as happy as she was when she'd married him. He'd been patient, carrying a torch for her when she'd thought the father of her baby, Rory Magnus, was the man she loved. And when he'd let her down again, Gordon had asked her to marry him, promising to care for the new baby as his own. Maureen was really lucky to have found love.